to it, Coach.
Sure.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you here. How are you and your team feeling about your Verbo Citrus Bowl trip coming up here?
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, first of all, we're just really excited to have this opportunity. I'm one of the few people on our staff that we still together or not? Okay.
Should be.
Hopefully, you get me. You hear me? Okay.
You with me? People
Okay.
don't want my face on
I
the
got you.
screen.
Okay. No, I'm one of the few people around here, I guess, that remember the trip. It was just such a great experience for everybody involved with our party. Most of all our team, obviously, but everybody there had a great time in Orlando. You guys do a wonderful job hosting an event, so we're just thrilled to be back there. It's been quite a while. And then also, beyond that, the opportunity to play against a team like Kentucky, an outstanding SEC program, and Mark Stoops has just done an unbelievable job with that program for quite some time now. So we do have some connectivity between the Stoops family. Bob Stoops, who played here, was a senior in '82. Is going in the College Football Hall of Fame this next week, actually. Was with us last night. He was doing the game. And then Mike had a tremendous career here as well. And then Mark was the last one to play here. And he and I were, as I was leaving here in '89, that was Mark's end of his career. And all three Stoops is just tremendous players, all three of them outstanding coaches. And Mark's done just a phenomenal job with the program there. So a little personal aspect to it, but it's going to be a great thrill for us to have a chance to compete against their football team. We'll have our hands full, I'm sure of that. We as a team are certainly anxious to get back on the field. I don't know that we're going to be ready right now, obviously, but had a tough game last night and played an outstanding opponent and just didn't play well enough in really any of the three areas to expect to win that football game. But I know our team's excited about getting back to it. Have an opportunity to play in a great bowl game is just a great thrill. We talk to our guys all the time about handling adversity, and that'll be the task in this coming month for us. First and foremost, I think our players right now just need some rest, not only physically but also emotionally and just mentally get away from things a little bit. So we'll try to be very mindful about that. They're going to finish up their schoolwork. This is our last week of class, and they'll be in finals next week, and then we'll transition into our game prep. But I can just tell you, we're really excited about this opportunity, thrilled to be coming to Orlando, and really looking forward to the challenges at hand. And I'll throw it out for questions.
All right, Coach, we'll take our first question from Matt Rochelle of the Orlando Sentinel. Matt, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Kirk, I want to ask, you mentioned the Stoops is obviously having a connection with Iowa, and you mentioned Mark's time there. What do you recall of his time as a player, and did you think at the time, I know you weren't his position coach, but what did you think of him as a player, and do you ever think that maybe he didn't wind up being a head coach someday?
I don't know about a head coach, but coaching, I think, he probably had no choice. It seems to be in the Stoops blood. All the boys are coaches. The oldest one, Ron, was a high school coach in Ohio. And then Bob came, and Mike, and then certainly Mark. It's just a great family, and their dad, Ron Sr., was a tremendous high school football coach also. So I remember distinctly when I got here, watching Bob Stoops play, there was no question in my mind he was going to be one of those guys that would go into coaching. It's just how he played. He played smart. He was really tough-minded, but also played really smart and was very much into the mental aspect of the game. And it's funny with Mark, one of my first memories, our coordinator during the 80s was a guy named Bill Brazier. Bill's one of the best people and best coaches I've ever worked with, and I think if you asked any of the Stoopses, they'd tell you the same. I'll never forget when Mark was in on his visit, and I walked by his office, Bill's office, and he was talking to Mark. And then later on, we had a staff meeting after the recruiting weekend, and Bill made the comment. He goes, if this wasn't a Stoops, I would have sworn, like this, there's no way this guy's going to be a college football player. And his point was that Mark at that time probably looked like he was 15, just a really young-looking high school senior. And but Coach Fry, had his mind made up on that one already, and certainly it panned out. All three of the boys had tremendous careers here, not just good careers, but tremendous careers. So, not surprised at all. And Mark's done a wonderful job there with Kentucky's program.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question from John Hale, the Courier-Journal in Louisville. John, go ahead when you're ready.
Speaking of that, Coach, what do you remember about Mark as a player? I know you were on the offensive side of the ball. He was a defensive player at the time, but what do you remember stood out? Some memories about his playing style?
Yeah, I mean, the guy that I know the best and have the deepest relationship would be Bob, because Bob played here in '82 and then stayed on as a grad assistant, and then was what they used to call volunteer assistants. So Bob was here for several years after his playing career, and so I got to know him as a player, then also on a professional level, and we had a lot of fun together. But the thing I would say, all three of them, they were cut from the same cloth. They wore the same number, 41, and was cut from the same cloth. They just looked at football a little differently than most college players do. And again, I think it was in the blood. I think that's something they grew up with. They were also very good house painters on the side. They did that in the summertime with their dad. But they're a football family. Mark gets along with people outstanding. He's a great teammate, great leader on our football team. And again, just his approach to football is probably a little different than the average guys.
All right, up next, we'll take a question from Joshua Moore of the Lexington Herald-Journal, who confused me at first by raising his hand and having the same name as our IT guy. But now that I know that it's the right guy, Josh, go ahead and ask your question.
Kirk, you talking about Stoops' approach with a lot of people kind of, for a while at least, have described his team at Kentucky, the way he's built the program, sort of compare them a lot to a Big Ten team. Do you see that in this? And kind of, I know you're playing a lot on Saturdays, but from what you've seen of Kentucky just over the years, I guess how would you evaluate what they've done?
Yeah, I got to be brutally honest. Outside of Big Ten football, I don't know how much I've seen of a lot of other teams to comment in that regard. I'll know a lot more here in about 3 weeks, but just knowing the way Mark approaches things and looking from afar, my sense is he started out by building a great foundation and wasn't trying to do a quick fix. And I personally think that's the way to go about it. You're trying to build something that's going to last. It seems like and appears from a distance he's had great support from the administration. I've had friends actually a friend that worked at Kentucky probably about 18 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark. But it sounded like the administration was really committed to getting a good, solid football program built, and they certainly selected the right person with Mark. And you think about the experience with his two brothers. Great people to pick their brains and get advice from, and just have tremendous respect and admiration for all three of the guys. They're just outstanding people and outstanding coaches, and Mark's done just a wonderful job building that thing, like I said, brick by brick.
Coach, we'll take our next question from Chad Lystico from the Des Moines Register. Chad, go ahead when you're ready.
Sure. I hope you can hear me. I'm pulled over at a gas station here, but
Loud and clear.
two quick ones. Do you know any more about the severity of Spencer's injury and whether that might impact his status for the game?
Yeah, he had a tough night last night, just discomfort. And as far as I understand right now, there's really nothing's in danger, no organs, anything like that. But he took a pretty good shot, and it wasn't to the head, but he took a shot or at least strained some stuff in his abdominal areas. So he's going to be fine, but he's in discomfort here and probably will be for a while.
Gotcha. And then the Holiday Bowl is such a short prep 2 years ago, and then you lost your prep last year for both. So do you envision trying to emphasize development in this period at all? But now you've also got a little bit of a shorter window at the championship. I guess just how do you view that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Chad. And I can't tell you why, but a couple of weeks ago I was thinking about 2015. I was thinking about our bowl prep that year. And I would still contend, I can't document this or prove it, but I really think probably both teams that played in that game in 15 probably went into their next games a little tired, and neither of us had good results. So again, I can't tell you why I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago, because I don't think anybody would have predicted we'd be in Indy, but I made a mental note of that, just really being careful where our guys at, probably emotionally as much as physically. And so with that in mind, as I'd love to do a lot of developmental work, but I just don't know if that's in our best interest. And I think we'll look at it. I've kind of been just giving it some general thoughts, but we'll start fine detailing it this week. And we'll work our younger guys, but I want to really be mindful of our guys that have been playing, because they've really spent everything they've got, I think, for us to get 10 wins. It took everything, and just can't say how appreciative I am of all of our players' commitment, their dedication, the efforts that they've put out. And I think it's only fitting for this team to have, another performance where they go out and play their best. So that'll be the goal, and we'll try to be mindful, and maybe here in a week or two I'll have a little better idea what we're going to do.
Coach, we'll take our next question from John Stepp of the Gazette. John, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, Kirk. Do you
Hey, John.
expect any players to opt out in terms of going to NFL, or is that something that isn't quite a conversation yet?
We'll start having those conversations this week. We had just kind of touched base with some guys back during our bye week, but really there's really no sense of urgency for anybody right now. It doesn't mean they won't do it, but really the players don't have to make any formal decisions till mid-January. So they've got plenty of time to think about things. And ultimately, you just want players to do what's in their best interest. And one thing I'd love to have all of our guys back, quite frankly. But I also know, too, you don't want somebody to stay if their heart's not in it. That's just not good for either party. So, we'll start having those conversations. And I'm hopeful that, we don't have any of that kind of transition. But, in the world we live in today, that seems to be a trend. So we'll just see how it all plays out.
Coach, we'll take our next one from Scott Docterman of The Athletic. Scott, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, Kirk, I hope you're doing well. I
Yes,
want to
sir.
ask about kind of the next 10-day block. Is probably recruiting, I'm sure, is probably the top of the list by far and away for you and your staff. But kind of how are you splitting your time? And then what are your players, how much time do they get off? Are they just kind of going to go and basically stretch and run around for a few days and that's it? Or what's kind of the schedule for the next week to 10 days?
Yeah, they're off till Tuesday morning. We'll bring them in and just have a brief meeting and just like a light workout, just to stretch and move around a little bit like they would on a Sunday. And then they'll get 2 lifts in this week, and then we'll do some light work over the weekend. And then next week we're in finals. So really these next 2 weeks, this week by design and next week by necessity, we'll really try to rest the guys as much as we can physically. And then we'll turn in earnest to the game planning. And then for our staff, we're a week behind in terms of travel, and believe me, we'd rather have been a week behind. We'd never make that trade. So we'll be moving around today or tomorrow and getting where we got to get and doing what we have to do. And then we host a handful of recruits this coming weekend, or maybe 2 handfuls. So that takes us through next Sunday. We'll finish that up. Guys will start their finals, and we'll really start digging deep into game preparation probably next Monday.
Coach, our next one will come from Jeff Drummond of Rivals. Jeff, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, hi, Kirk. Thank you for taking out some time with us today.
My pleasure.
You mentioned earlier you hadn't really looked a great deal at Kentucky yet, but the quarterback, Will Levis, is a guy that played in the Big Ten. I was wondering, had you had a matchup with him or seen anything of him on tape from his time at Penn State?
Yeah, I can tell you what we think of Will. I think this is correct. I think we were the first Power 5 school to offer him. So we offered him, a couple Junes ago. He came out and came to camp. It was a guy our quarterback coach, Ken O'Keefe, really liked. Came to camp, and there was no question in our mind he was going to be a really good college football player. Unfortunately, another school came in. It was a little bit more prestigious than us a couple weeks later, and that was the end of that relationship. But yeah, we did get to see him last year a little bit. Will's a tremendous football player, and I know he's done a great job. Again, I haven't seen film, but I've just kind of follow reading articles, that type of thing, and I know he's done a great job for Kentucky, and I'm not surprised. He's a first-class young man.
If anybody else has any questions for Coach Ferentz, you can use the raise hand function. We'll call on you. If not, we've got I believe a couple players joining us, but we'll stand by for them. It looks like we have a new question from John Stepp. John, go ahead when you're ready.
Does this game have added kind of excitement when you didn't have a bowl game to play in 2020 after the Music City Bowl got canceled?
Yeah, as all of us know, John, last year was such a just an unusual year, right? I mean, a lot of weird things, and to get the bowl game canceled, I think that was on a Sunday. Does that sound right? I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but we were a couple days into preparation, and then the plug got pulled on it. Last year was just a season of strangeness in a lot of regards. So every step of the way this year to operate in semi-normalcy, starting with even our training, weight training with, just having a normal routine that way and having a normal spring practice, a pretty normal summer. So it's all been good. And then, now to have a bowl opportunity, it's really exciting. And, I'm just so proud of our team, the way they've played this year, what they've been able to do and how they've maximized their ability. So to play in a bowl like the Citrus Bowl, it's such a great reward for our players, and really happy. And again, I it's been almost 20 years since I've been there, but I can just say from that experience, it was first class. So I'm just so pleased for our players, and really happy for them for this opportunity.
Coach, we'll take one from Rick Brown of SI, and then we'll go back to Scott Dogman after that.
Okay.
Rick, you can go ahead when you're ready. All right, we will move on to Scott. We'll come back to Rick when we can get him properly unmuted. Scott, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask kind of about their mental outlook, because I remember in 2015 after the tough loss, and then you got to go to the Rose Bowl, and the players themselves still seemed really down because of the result, and understandably so. Yeah. What do you try to do to get them not to worry about Kentucky and the Citrus Bowl and just worry about going and being a human being for a couple of days? How do you kind of manage that and massage that so they get back in the frame of mind to play football in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to. And again, I can't tell you why I was thinking about that 3 weeks ago or whenever it was. I guess I was starting to pull some stuff together, just, in general prep thoughts. But that was one clear takeaway from 15. We weren't where we needed to be mentally or emotionally in that ball game. I'm not so sure as much physically, but I think mentally and emotionally. So, we got to do a better job as coaches. And, that being said, at that point, we didn't know how last night was going to go. Obviously, it was a disappointing night for us. But the good news is right now, I think we'll put a good plan together. More importantly, we got a group that's already proved this year how resilient they are. And they've gotten back up off the turf couple times already this year. I have full confidence they'll do it again. We got great leadership on this football team, really exceptional young guys, and hopefully we'll do our part. I know they'll do their part, so it's going to be a team effort for sure.
I want to go back to Rick Brown. Rick, did you have a question for us? All right. If that's the case, we don't have any hands up at the moment. We'll do a last call for questions for Coach, and then we'll take a short break. And I believe we're supposed to have Tyler Linderbaum and Dane Belton joining us a little bit later. But if there are any final questions for Coach, we'll take them now. All right, Coach, we appreciate the time. We'll look forward to seeing you down here in Orlando again in a couple of weeks, and hopefully the weather will be warm for you.
It'll be warmer than here. I know that, Sam. So we look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks again. And I know Dane just walked in, so we'll get him up here shortly.